Shalom, I am Rabbi Michael Panitz. I'm the Rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, and I have the honor to be speaking to you from the pulpit of my congregation. At this time, I'd like to speak to you on the subject of city walls and the quest for immortality. City walls and the quest for immortality. Most of the Hebrew Bible is the story of one nation, the people Israel, told from a religious point of view. But the first 11 chapters of the Bible narrate a universal prehistory of humankind. The last tale in that section is the intriguing and enigmatic Tower of Babel story, Genesis 11, verses 1 through 9. It is common for readers to focus on the unfinished skyscraper, the Tower of Babel itself. True, the story itself focuses on the tower and the failure of its builders to complete it. Many scholars think that the story was inspired by an actual building, Etemenanki, Temple of the Foundation of Heaven and Earth. This was a ziggurat, a stepped pyramid, dedicated to the god Marduk in ancient Babylon. That ziggurat, whose ruins may be seen today, 90 kilometers south of Baghdad, was built and destroyed several times during the biblical era. Many observers, during the era when the Bible story was created, would have beheld that temple in ruins, perhaps providing the inspiration for the biblical satire on the folly of humans seeking to safeguard their name by an impressive skyline. In this reading, however, I want us to think about the larger building project that the Bible story mentions. Come, let us build a city and a tower. A city and a tower. Verse 4 of that chapter. In the Bronze Age, the era in which the Tower of Babel story is set, what defined a city? Its walls. An unwalled settlement was a village. A proper city had walls, both for defense and for aggrandizement. Again, the Tower of Babel story is set in Mesopotamia, the land of origin of our biblical ancestors, Avram and Sarai, the remembered ancestors of the people Israel. Mesopotamia, the region, was virtually the mother of the walled city. In Mesopotamia, the walled city goes back as far as 4,500 BCE, 6,500 years ago. Walls changed the course of human history. By allowing the people inside their protective ring the opportunity to concentrate on pursuits other than warfare, walls allowed the tasks that civilians take up. And now I'm going to quote from the author David Fry, who wrote the article, "Walls Don't Just Keep People Out. History Shows They Change the People Inside," which appeared in Time magazine, August 21st, 2018. And he wrote, "Having become civilians, they," meaning the majority of males in the city, "took up the tasks that civilians take up. They became bricklayers, weavers, merchants, and scribes, and not only the farmers that they had been in their villages. In time, as their cultures expanded and diversified, they also became authors, architects, artists, and actors. They could specialize because they had achieved security, not by constantly preparing for war, but by doing work, stacking bricks or tamping earth until they had created structures that freed them from fear of invasion." The most famous city walls in Mesopotamia were those of the city of Uruk, modern-day Warka. It was the largest city in southern Mesopotamia by around 3,200 before the Common Era. Uruk was surrounded by a massive wall, and now I'm quoting from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Department of Ancient Near Eastern Art, the story about Uruk, the first city. This wall, which according to tradition was built on orders of King Gilgamesh. An actual Gilgamesh, listed as a king of Uruk around 2,700 years before the Common Era, may have been the inspiration for the literary epic that bears his name. The walls of Uruk frame the epic of Gilgamesh. At the beginning of the story, Gilgamesh is hailed as their builder, and I quote from the opening lines of the story. He ordered the walls of Uruk of the sheepfold, the walls of holy Eanna, stainless sanctuary. Observe its walls, whose upper hem is like bronze. Behold its inner wall, which no work can equal. Ascend the walls of Uruk, walk around the top, inspect the base, view the brickwork. Is not the very core made of oven-fired brick? As for its foundation, was it not laid down by the 7 sages? Words of high praise. And near the end of the story, after Gilgamesh acknowledges defeat in his quest for immortality, he takes solace in the solidity of his life accomplishment, the walls of Uruk. He says to his ferryman, whose name is Ur-Shanabi, "Go up, Ur-Shanabi, onto the walls of Uruk, inspect the base, view the brickwork. Is not the very core made of oven-fired brick? Did not the 7 sages lay down its foundation?" I'm quoting Gilgamesh because, in my reading, the biblical tower builders of Babel are motivated by the same grandiosity, which is itself a defense mechanism to their fear of oblivion. And listen again to the 4th verse of Genesis 11. "Come, let us build us a city," which you've heard me quote, and now we add, "that we make us a name, lest we be scattered over all the earth." They are after fame and endurance. The city and its tower will keep alive their memory, and its walls will keep their polity intact. They fail, of course. Unlike Gilgamesh, these builders are known only collectively, not individually. We know, moreover, that they did not succeed in opposing the will of God that humans spread out over the earth. The last verse of the story, verse 9, "And from there," Bavel, "the Lord scattered them all over the earth." And we blame those tower builders for the loss of a common human language. Judaism rejects the notion of an ego-driven storming of heaven. That was the big error of the city and tower builders. You cannot storm heaven, but heaven can come to us. Heaven comes to the frightened young Jacob, sleeping on the hard ground on his first night away from home, and dreaming of the ladder with angels ascending and descending, and with God at the top voicing reassurance. Heaven comes to all of Israel when God descends to Mount Sinai. Moreover, Judaism teaches us that there is a more worthy way to seek the endurance of being remembered. The Hebrew phrase is Zecher Tzadik Livracha. The memory of the righteous is for blessing. Live righteously, and you will be remembered gratefully. Now, that does not guarantee that you will be individually remembered on earth for all the ages. Those who remember you will also have their last day. But at that point, there is a consolation. Your consolation is the knowledge that your righteousness served to repair the broken world, or at least to counteract the forces breaking it. Make righteous living your personal building project. That's a goal worth living for.